plant anything sophisticated. There's no thermal trace of anyone here before us. My opinion, for what it's worth, this is clean. He climbed out of the chair and unsealed his helmet. Wilson studied the young face that was exposed. Short hair framing slim features, alert eyes. Eager, dedicated, efficient. Me 340 years ago. God. When I was in the Air Force, I learned to always trust my engineering crew. I don't suppose anything's really changed? Kieran broke into a genuine, grateful smile. Thank you. Okay, let's see if I actually remember how to fly. He started to take his armor suit off. Admiral, I'm glad you're here. The term surprised Wilson. 30 hours ago, the Navy that he was in charge of had been hunting down the Guardians as if they were a pandemic virus. It made the young man's faith all the more touching. I'll do whatever I can, he promised. Oscar and Anna arrived in the cockpit as Wilson was pulling his feet out of the armor's boots. He was only wearing a white t-shirt and shorts, and the cockpit's air was almost freezing. Here you go, Oscar said, and dropped a small bag at Wilson's feet. Our CST-issue executive travel bag. Essential for survival in hotels and conferences, the Commonwealth over. Don't mock, Wilson growled as he unzipped the bag. He found a fleece with a CST logo on the chest and pulled it on quickly before sitting in the luxurious pilot's seat. Ow, this leather's cold. He put his hands over the console's iPads and reviewed the menus rolling into his virtual vision as the interface was established. The first thing he did was locate the plane's environmental circuits and switch the heating on full. Everybody in and secure, Adam reported. Anna was out of her armor suit, puffing against the cold as she pulled on some clothes from her CST pack. You want to take the co-pilot seat? Wilson asked. Sure. She gave him a quick, intimate smile. We actually need to be in the air before you two can join the Mile High Club, Oscar told them dryly. Wilson grinned. This is the bit I've always wanted to say, he confessed to them, as the avionics confirmed the micropiles were ready. Atomic turbines to power. Anna and Oscar exchanged a look. Oscar shrugged. The turbines spun up, and Wilson released the wheel brakes. The Carbon Goose rolled out of its hangar and rolled down toward the icy sea. Oh, brother, Ozzy grunted. He was accessing files from his asteroid, seeing the refugees from Rantown come stumbling through the wormhole. There goes the neighborhood. 2 hours into his review of everything that had happened, and he was beginning to wish he'd headed off in the other direction after leaving Island 2. The last home file showed him Nigel wandering around the bungalow. Ozzy's own recorded projection played out, and Nigel swore at the end of it. Back in the cozy warmth of the Ledbetter penthouse suite, sprawled on his circular, emperor-sized gel mattress, Ozzy grinned at his old friend's dismayed expression. Poor old Nige had always disapproved of his lifestyle, the decisions and choices. It was their contrary opinions that made them such a good team. He drained his tumbler of bourbon and told the maidbot to refill it, then moved on to examine records from the latest invasion. Oh, brother. The damage that the flare bombs and quantum busters inflicted on the stars was terrifying. Then something terminated Hell's Gateway, something that the Sheldon dynasty had done independently from the Navy, something greater than a quantum buster. Half of the Unisphere now comprised speculation and gossip about Nigel using that ultra-weapon against Dyson Alpha, winning the war in a single strike. The other half of the Unisphere was busy discussing the Second 47's evacuation into the future. Ozzy took another swig as the War Cabinet made their announcement. Son of a bitch, don't bring me into this, he shouted at Nigel's image. His so-called friend's face loomed hugely over the bed, as projected by the portal on the opposite wall. It was badly focused now. Ozzy tried to do some math to see if Nigel knew what the fuck he was talking about, but the equations were impossible to form. He looked at his tumbler, which was empty again. Just bring the bottle, he told the maid bot. Virtual hands wobbled through virtual vision, and he knocked politely on the SI's icon. The war cabinet vanished to be replaced by tangerine and turquoise lines weaving through and around each other. "Hello, Ozzy. Welcome back. Good to be back. I mean it. You've no idea how wonderful toilet paper is until it's taken away from you by an unfeeling universe. I think it's a defining characteristic of human civilization, the ability to manufacture something decent to wipe your ass on. Believe me, forest leaves just don't cut it. Well, actually," he sniggered, "they do, and that's the problem. And you can make that my epitaph if you want." Duly noted. Hey, don't you smart-ass me. You've got some big-time explaining to do, man." The maidbot rolled up to the side of the bed and held out the bourbon bottle. Ozzy took it and winked at the little machine. "You are referring to the emergency Rantown evacuation," the SI said. "Nail on the fucking head, dude. We took the liberty of saving thousands of human lives. We assumed that given the circumstances, you wouldn't object. Yeah, trillions of dollars spent building the ultimate in private housing, and it's all blown. All gone." The room rotated around him, leaving him spread-eagled on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. He took another drink of bourbon to compensate. "I'll have to dream up something else now. Maybe go back to the Ice Citadel. No. Fuck, what am I saying? It was cold there. I am, not a cold-weather person. I learned that about myself." "So your venture was successful then?" "Oh, brother, was it ever. I found out everything. Who put the barrier up, why they did it, why they won't help us. And I'll tell you something else. I was right about the sulfur, too. Do they evolve into an adult state?" Ah. Ozzy wagged a finger at the slow wave storm of glowing lines. "I thought you'd want to know that. Man, you should have seen where they live. The gas halo is totally groovy. Maybe I should try and build one. I'd just love to see Nigel's face when I tell him that." "Who built the barriers?" "Cloud Dancer said it was some race called the Enemides. But that was in a dream, I think. Anyway, they're not around anymore. Actually, no. Cancel that. They are, but they're not the same. I think they out-evolved the Sylphan, some of them anyway. The others all went back home and joined Greenpeace." Ozzy smiled lazily. The bed was wonderfully soft, and he was very tired now. He closed his eyes. "They're not going to help us, you know." "You dig that. You haven't been majorly helpful here, have you? Apart from scooping up that Melanie chick. Damn, she's hot. Do you know if she's dating anyone?" He yawned. Waited for the answer. "Oh, come on, man. You're not pissed at me, are you? Just a few home truths among friends. You've got to grow thicker skin." There was still no reply. The light in the room changed. "Mr. Isaac?" "Huh?" That wasn't the SI. Ozzy opened his eyes. The tangerine and turquoise lines had vanished. He swung around toward the sound of the new voice, or tried to. The bed kept getting in the way. A man's head slid into view, upside down and frowning. "Hey!" Ozzy exclaimed happily. "Nelson! Been too long, man. How's it hanging? I'm glad to see you're all right. Never better. Quite. Nigel would like a word. Bring him on in. It's easier if we take you to him." "Sure thing. Let me find my shoes." Ozzy finally managed to move and slithered off the end of the bed to land in a heap on the floor. Something hurt. It probably belonged to him. "Can you see them?" he asked Nelson earnestly. Nelson smiled blankly and beckoned. Ozzy was lifted to his feet by two powerful young men in grey business suits. They had identical red and green ochre tattoos on their cheeks, a stack of centimetre-long lines that looked like neon sideburns. "Hi, guys. Good to meet you." They carried him out of the bedroom. Orion was in the lounge outside, still wearing his fancy white and scarlet jacket. The boy looked very scared. There were a lot of people in the lounge with him, just like the ones carrying Ozzy, polite, well-built men and women without any sense of humour.
"Ozzy?"
Orion said. He bit his lip, looking fearfully at Nelson. "Hang tight there, little dude. Everything's perfectly under control. Where's Tochi?" "I am here, friend Ozzy. Do as they say." Being vertical wasn't good. Ozzy's stomach didn't like it. He threw up. They carried him into the service elevator. There was a convoy of big dark cars outside the hotel. He was bundled into the first one. The short drive ended with him being carried onto a hypersonic aircraft, just big enough to accommodate Tochi at the back where a dozen seats had been removed. Nelson sat down opposite Ozzy and produced a large red tablet. "Take this." "What is it?" "Something to help." "I'm not ill." Fingers pinched his nose shut and he opened his mouth in reflex. The tablet was shoved in, followed by water. Ozzy half swallowed, half gagged. "Ah, brother." Nelson leaned back. "Strap him in. He's going to need it." The flight was truly horrible. Ozzy shivered violently in his seat, his skin feverish. He desperately wanted to be sick again, but it was as if his stomach had grown an extra membrane to prevent it. The acidic heartburn down his gullet spread right through his gut. His headache seemed to be sweating its way through his skull. An hour later his teeth had stopped chattering. The aches and discomfort were fading away, leaving his clothes soaked in cold sweat. "I fucking hate sober-ups," Ozzy growled at Nelson. "They're not natural. Son of a bitch, look at my clothes." He plucked at his wet T-shirt in disgust. "We brought your bags," Nelson said. "You can freshen up on the train. We'll be landing in 5 minutes." "Landing where?" "The planetary station." "Great. I've got to pee." Nelson gestured down the aisle. Ozzy slowly slipped his straps off and rose unsteadily to his feet. Orion was sitting in the chair behind. "You okay there, dude?" The boy nodded. "I think Tochi was worried, but I told him we'd be all right. He doesn't understand how important you are." "I'll try and explain it later." "Ozzy," the boy said quietly, "she's really nice. We talked a lot. She's called Lauren. She was really interested in the Sylphan paths and where we've been." Ozzy glanced around at the security team member Orion was surreptitiously indicating. "Ah, okay. Again, she's polite in that serial killer fashion because that's her job. Don't ask her to marry you or anything." "All right, Ozzy." The boy pouted. The hypersonic came down on a landing pad behind the station's cluster of administration buildings. There was no one around to see them disembark and hurry over to the sleek private maglev express with its 2 carriages. "Just us?" Ozzy asked when he looked down the deserted front carriage. There were big spherical chairs set along the length of the carriage, with a bar at the far end. "Just you," Nelson confirmed. Ozzy took one of his new cases into the washroom to change. His attempt to interface with the Unisphere was completely unsuccessful. His inserts reported the train was efficiently screened. Back out in the carriage, Ozzy raided the bar for some sandwiches, then went to sit near to Tochi and Orion. He acted as tour guide as the express hurtled along, pointing out the worlds they passed through. The Big 15 planet Sheoni first, which led to Beijing, followed by a fast trip around the Trans-Earth loop to New York, and finally Augusta. "Your transport is so much more efficient than the Sylphan method," Tochi said, "and your world's so ordered. Do you disapprove of disarray?" "Don't judge us on what you've seen so far," Ozzy told it. At New Costa Station, their train peeled away from the main area of the yard to slide through a lone gateway. "And this has to be Crescent," Ozzy said. "I haven't been here for a while." 73 years, Nelson said, as the maglev glided into Elanum Station. More dark cars were waiting for them. "Where now?" Ozzy asked. "One of Nigel's residences just outside the town." "All of us?" "Yes, all of you. We have suitable rooms prepared." "Okay, then. Ozzy was giving the station's cargo handling sector a suspicious look. Its capacity had jumped by an order of magnitude since he'd last visited. The residence was a big mansion of pale stone modelled on the stately homes of 18th-century Europe. It was several kilometres out of town and surrounded by towering trees that were oppressively dark in the deepening twilight. "You'll be all right," Ozzy told his companions when they walked into the big entrance hall. Orion's expression was dropping into a sullenness that Ozzy recognized only too well. "Get some sleep. We'll talk in the morning." Nelson led the way through the mansion to a study overlooking the front lawns. There was a greenway outside, barely visible now the sun had set. Ozzy wasn't sure if he remembered it or not. It did seem vaguely familiar. He resented not having access to the Unisphere after only just being reconnected. Nigel was waiting in a big leather armchair. "Thanks, Nelson." Nelson smiled tightly and left, closing the door behind him. Ozzy's inserts told him a strong E-seal had come on around the room. "Just us, huh?" "Just us." Nigel waved a hand at a chair identical to his own. "Shouldn't the fire be blazing away?" Ozzy said as he sat down. "With, like, maybe one of those big hairy dogs stretched out in front of it. Irish wolfhound. And you and me jiving away with some brandy. You've had enough to drink today." "Okay, Nige, so what's with the big CIA spook operation? My Unisphere address is open. You could have called." "Better this way. That kid you've turned up with tells an interesting story. And the alien. Nobody's seen anything like it before. Communication by photoluminescent visual signals in the ultraviolet spectrum. The xenobiologists are going to love that." "So she's an okay dude, sure." "So you walked the sylphan paths." "Yeah, man. They are the most incredible wormhole network imaginable. I think they're sentient in their own right. That's why we can never quite track them down. They move the whole time, opening and closing, time-shifting, too." "Figures. Incorporating a wormhole's control routines into a self-sustaining exotic energy matrix is one of our research projects. Clunky, man, so clunky compared to this. So what did you find? Have they got an SI equivalent?" "Yeah, something like that. It has a shitload of data, like a galactic library. I know who put the barriers around the Dyson pair." Nigel listened silently while Ozzy told him about finding the Ice Citadel and Tochi and seeing the ghost planet's history, and finally ending up in the gas halo. "So this anomine species isn't going to help us?" he asked. "No," Ozzy said. "Sorry, man." "That was a well-spent time away, then. Are you happy?" "Hey, fuck you! Why did you order the Dynasty Political Office to prevent anyone examining cargo sent too far away?" Ozzy gave a sickly grin. That wasn't exactly what he was expecting to talk about. "Well, man, it was oppressive. I don't dig that at all. Ozzy, give the bullshit routine a rest, will you? There's too much at stake." "If you haven't worked it out yet, I'm trying to decide whose side you're on." "Side? Are you a Starflyer agent, Ozzy?" Nigel asked quietly. There was a glint of moisture in his eyes. "Damn it, do you have any idea how much it hurts just to have to ask you that?" "You know the Starflyer's real?" an equally astounded Ozzy blurted. "Yeah, we know it's real. We just found out. So why the political restriction?" "I didn't know if it was real." "What made you even suspect?" "I met this dude, Bradley Johansson. Man, could he spin a story. He claimed he'd been to the gas halo, that the Sylphan had removed his Starflyer conditioning. I'd never heard anything like it. He almost made sense. So I asked myself, what if he was right? You know? I mean, it's a big universe out there, Nige. Anything is possible. So you took a chance and threw in with him. It was fun, wasn't it, Ozzy? Fun being on the other side, sticking it to the man. I'm not that shallow." "Yes, you are." Nigel narrowed his eyes. "When did you meet him?" "God, man, I don't know. Like Over a century ago? Before or after he founded the Guardians? Same time. He was just getting his act together. Nigel tented his fingers in front of his face, staring hard at Ozzy. Suddenly his eyes widened in shock. Oh my God. You stupid, stupid son of a bitch! I don't believe it. What? Ozzy asked, disturbed by his friend's behavior. The Great Wormhole Heist. Ah. Ozzy couldn't help a slight smirk. That. You helped him. I always wondered how the hell they got into the supercomputer routines we'd written. The access codes were all our personal encryption. You gave him the codes, didn't you? Better than that, Ozzy said evilly. How better? I was one of them. One of... Oh, fuck. Ozzy, you were part of the Great Wormhole Heist? Sure, man, it was a blast. A blast. Jesus, Ozzy! That was Paula Mayo's case. Suppose she'd caught Johansson. His memory read would have shown you taking part. It was worth it. You have no idea how high I got creeping around that museum, giving the guards the finger when the force field came on around us. Then we just waltzed right into the Vegas vault. Shit, Nigel, even we don't have that much money. It was stacked to the fucking rooftops like a dragon's bed of gold. It's less than an hour's income for CST, you dickbrain, and we own half of Vegas anyway. Why didn't you just give Johansson an open credit transfer? I knew you wouldn't get it. Nigel, man, we built that machine with our own two hands. It's still our finest hour, not CST. That was the two of us against the world back then. The generator was built with love. It's part of us, the kid our souls had together. It wasn't fair leaving it to be gawped at by bunches of school kids like some freak show exhibit. I gave it a swan song that'll never be forgotten. It wasn't in danger of being overlooked. It's the foundation for our whole society. Nigel groaned out loud and appealed silently to whatever rationality Ozzy believed in. Why didn't you just come and tell me about the Starflyer? And you'd have listened and taken it all seriously? Come on. Nige, you are the man. You'd have told me and Johansson to go take a flying leap, then given me another lecture about being stoned. He gave his friend a kindly smile. How long have you known the Starflyer is real, Nige? I mean, really accepted it's a genuine 24-carat pain in humanity's ass? Be honest. We've suspected something weird's been going on behind the scenes for a while now. I wasn't sure if it was the SI. One of its agents was involved. How long? Ozzy chanted. He wasn't about to let Nigel off this one. Couple of days. Pretty good. Longer than I'd have given you credit for. Oh, like you were sure, Nigel snapped back. You were so confident you used Johansson as an excuse to play super thief for kicks. You know, I bet you're secretly pissed Johansson hasn't been caught. For 130 years, you've been waiting for this little stunt to get added to the catalogue of Aussie legends, haven't you? Ozzy pulled a sullen expression, modelled on Orion at his worst. I was playing long odds is all. I told you, Johansson was convincing. Somebody should have taken a close look. And don't sit there telling me I shouldn't have done anything. Look outside and see the kind of super deep shit we're in right now. Were. What? Were in deep shit. I've managed to pull us out of it. There's not going to be any more Morning Light Mountain or the Starflyer. That little edge of conceit was something about Nigel that always bugged Ozzy. What have you done, Nigel? I'm sending a ship to Dyson Alpha. A Nova bomb is going to take care of Morning Light Mountain once and for all. This is all going to be settled within a week. Nova bomb? Is that what your secret weapon is? Nobody on the Unisphere knows. What the fuck is it? Same principle as a diverted energy function nuke, but bigged up like you wouldn't believe. Our Dynasty weapons development team took the diverted energy principle and bolted it onto a quantum buster. Simple, really. The quantum buster effect field converts any matter within its radius directly into energy. Only now that energy is diverted into expanding the effect field farther. And that's a lot of energy. The field grows large enough to convert a measurable percentage of a star, which gives us an explosion on the same scale as a nova. It annihilates the star and any planet orbiting within 100 AUs. The radiation will be lethal to any habitable planet within another 30 or so light years. Ozzy frowned, horribly intrigued, despite every liberal model he possessed. That's an impossible feedback. Not quite. It only has to hold together for a fraction of a second. Conversion is almost instantaneous. That gives us a loophole. No. Ozzy put his hands to his temples, shaking his head hard enough to make his hair wave from side to side. Realization of what was about to happen was affecting his body far worse than any little sober-up tablet forced down his throat. He really did think he was going to be physically sick. No, I don't give shit about the mechanics. Nigel, you can't do this, man. You can't kill Morning Light Mountain. It is the Primes now. Their whole species. We've been through this, Ozzy. The War Cabinet, Dynasty heads, the St. Petersburg team. We looked at every tactical scenario, every option. There's nothing else we can do. Morning Light Mountain is trying to exterminate us, just like the Starflyer planned. Maybe you should have tried a little harder to get me to take notice of Johansson, instead of playing the romantic underdog. Not that you ever were that, Ozzy. It just suits you to pretend, so you can get laid more often. Well, wake up and smell the coffee. We're not college students anymore, Ozzy. We left California behind 3.5 centuries ago.
Keep right.
Grow up. I had to, and I get laid more than you because of it. Why do you think I used your name in the War Cabinet announcement? People trust you, Ozzy. They like you. If you'd kicked up a fuss back when you met Johansson, they would have listened. Heather would have busted the Starflyer's corruption apart like a jackhammer on glass. Don't go around blaming me and calling me a warmonger. You knew, Ozzy. You goddamn knew about a threat to the entire human race, and you didn't fucking tell anyone. Who's to blame, Ozzy? Who backed us into this corner, huh? Who took away our options? Ozzy had sunk back into the chair as Nigel's voice grew louder. It wasn't often Nigel, the original calculating Iceman, lost his temper.
Keep
but
right.
when he did, it was
and
best
then
not
exit
to interrupt.
right.
People had been ruined or worse for making that mistake. Besides, there was a nasty taste
right.
of guilt spreading around Ozzy's brain like a fast-acting poison. It's genocide, man, he said simply and quietly. There was no logical argument he could come up with to counter the tirade. It is so not what we are. You think I don't fucking know that? Nigel stormed. I wore the same t-shirts as you. I went on the same marches. I hated the military-industrial imperialism that ran the world back then. Now look where you've put me. Okay. Ozzy raised his hands. Just calm down, man. I am fucking calm. Anybody else, Ozzy, and I mean anybody, and they would have been wiped from history by now. Nobody would question what happened to you, because you would never have existed. I've seen it happen, man, Ozzy whispered. I walked one of the ghost planets. I witnessed their history. I felt them die, Nigel, every last one of them. You can't let it happen. You just can't. I'm begging you, man. I'm on my goddamn knees here. Don't do this. There is no other way. There's always another way. Look, Cloud Dancer said the barrier generator was only disabled, not destroyed. Nigel gave him a startled look. It was a variant on the flare bomb, we think. It altered the generator's quantum structure. There, see? The generator is still there. We've just got to repair it. Get it working again. Ozzy! Nigel gave his friend a weary, despairing look.
Go straight on.
You're grasping at straws. That's not you. We have to try. Ozzy, think it through. The barrier generator is the size of a planet, and we've got days, maybe only hours
At the
before Morning
roundabout,
Light Mountain
take
strikes
the
back at
first
the
exit.
Commonwealth. If it does, it will kill us. It will genocide the human race. Do you understand that?
Exit
Let
now.
me try, Ozzy implored. You're sending a ship, right? The one with the Nova bomb? Yeah. We developed
Go
something new,
straight on.
Ozzy. This drive is something else again. It doesn't use any of our old wormhole technology. You really do just jump into hyperspace. Morning Light Mountain can't detect it. Perfect. Let me go on it. I can take a look at the generator. You know, if anyone can work it out, I can. Ozzy. Morning Light Mountain won't know I'm there. If it starts an attack on the Commonwealth, I'll fling a Nova bomb into its star system myself. But we have to try this. Let me go, Nigel. It's a chance. I know you, man. You won't be able to live with yourself if you don't at least consider it. Ozzy. Every physicist in the Commonwealth has been studying the data which the Second Chance gathered on the generator. We don't even know what some of the shells are, let alone what they do. And we certainly don't know how to build sections of them. Not inside a week. Get real here. I can do it. I know I can. There must be a self-repair function, something that can undo the damage. Yeah. Cloud Dancer said it should outlive the star itself.
Go
If the
straight on.
Starflyer could have destroyed the generator, it would. That gives us a chance. You're not going, Ozzy.
Go straight on.
Give me one good reason. I don't trust you. For a moment, Ozzy thought Nigel had hit him. His skin suddenly went numb the way it did after a sharp blow. He couldn't
Keep
hear
right.
anything either.
And then
The
continue
air in the
straight
study
on.
had turned dead. What? His voice was a piteous croak. I don't know if you're a Starflyer
Go
agent
straight
or not.
on.
If it's going to take a last shot at defeating us, then this would be absolutely perfect. So read my lips. You are not taking our two most secret weapons into the Morning Light Mountain star system by yourself. They are the only guarantees of racial survival we've got. I'm not a Starflyer agent, Ozzy said meekly. You can't really think that. You're either a friend of Johansson's, like you said,
Get ready
or a
to
Starflyer
turn right.
agent. Those are the only two reasons for stopping the faraway cargo inspections, because both groups need to get their equipment through without drawing any official attention. Right
Turn
now,
right.
Johansson is out of contact, on his way to far away, so I can't confirm your story short of a memory read. I don't want to do that, even if we had the time, which we don't. So for now, I'm doing what any good friend would do and quarantining you. When Johansson gets back, he'll be able to vouch for you. I'm sorry, Ozzy, but we've learned the hard way just how deep the Starflyer has penetrated our society. I'm even partly to blame for that. I let that son of a bitch Ulster fool me, which is going to take some serious piety on my part to recover from. And we both know how hard that will be.
Go
You really
straight
mean
on.
this, don't you, Nigel? You're not going to let me go? I can't. If this was reversed, you wouldn't either. Oh, man. This is the only chance we've got to save our souls. We can't commit genocide. We have to. Look, will you at least tell the captain to take a flyby of the generator? Sure thing, Ozzy. We'll do that. Ozzy knew that tone. Nigel was just humoring him. You son of a bitch. Nigel stood up. You and your friends will stay here until this is settled. I can't give you Unisphere access, but if there's anything you want, just ask. Ozzy almost told him where to stick his hospitality. All the data on the generator. I'm going to look at it anyway. Fair enough, Ozzy. And if I find a way of fixing it, I'll bend over and you can kick my ass into orbit. Damn right I will. Oh, and Nigel, get the boy a girl, will you? A sweet one. Not some fifth lifer. Nigel gave him an irritated glance. Do I look like a pimp? Ozzy smiled. This is only going to take a week, Nigel said. He can wait. Hey, come on, man. We could all be dead by then. The kid's never been laid. Now you've gone and flung him in jail. 5 star, sure, but it's still the pen. Give him a break. Ozzy, If you can't
Get
call out
ready
for a
to
hooker,
turn right.
send one of your wives along. They're all about his age anyway. You can't annoy me into doing this. Just do it, Nige. Show some
Turn
humanity here. I'll pick up the tab if it bothers you that much. Whatever. Nigel went out of the door with a fractious wave of his hand. Fuck you very much, Ozzy shouted after him.
Get ready.
8
to
hours
turn
into
left.
the flight to Port Evergreen, and the Carbon Goose passengers were finally starting to relax. There was a general feeling among them now that they might actually make it to the wormhole generator after all. Tailwinds had picked up as they crossed the ocean. Wilson had announced their projected flight time was another hour and a quarter at most. Paula wasn't anything like as optimistic as the others. The Starflyer only needed a 5-minute lead on them through the wormhole. Even with their reduced flight time, it was going to get close
Turn
on
left.
40 minutes. Apart from a couple of hours spent in a fitful sleep, she'd spent her time reviewing contingency survival plans. There were plenty of scenarios loaded into the avionics, mostly connected with the plane being forced to ditch in the ocean. Given that each Carbon Goose carried emergency food packs, and there were
Get
more
ready
stores at
to turn
Shackleton and
left.
Port Evergreen, she estimated that they'd have enough
Turn
to eat
left.
for between 17 to 20 months. It would mean returning to Shackleton, where the other planes were parked, but they weren't facing instant doom. Power and warmth were certainly easy enough. The micropiles could supply them with electricity for decades. She walked back through the top passenger deck, which everyone had settled in. The Guardians regarded her with expressions of suspicion and hostility. Not that it bothered her. Open animosity was a near constant companion in her job. Cat's Claws simply ignored her, while the 3 remaining members of the Paris team smiled warmly as she passed. The stairs at the back of the cabin took her down to the next deck, which had its lights down low. She could just
At the
see the
ground
horizon
line,
through the small
take the
circular
first
windows, a fuzzy pink line separating the black ocean from a star-filled sky. Flashes from the neutron stars sent a broad livid blue shimmer across the water,
Exit now.
leaving a purple afterimage on her retinas. They were just keeping ahead of the dawn, which was scheduled to catch up with them 20 minutes after they reached Port Evergreen. 4 more sets of stairs, and 2 pressure hatches put her in the lower cargo hold where all their vehicles were stowed. The turbine noise was loudest here, almost as if there was some kind of combustion engine operating somewhere close by. Even with Wilson turning the heating on full, it was chilly in the big compartment.
Rerouting.
She zipped up the black and lavender fleece that had been in her CST executive travel pack and walked to the center, where Kotox was spending the journey. They'd managed to find half a dozen emergency heaters, which now ringed the large alien, blowing warm air on its dark grey hide. Nobody knew anything about Rael physiology, so Paula couldn't tell if its occasional shivering was the same reaction that humans had to cold, or a manifestation of its little dependency problem.
Get ready to turn
2 of
right.
its smaller tentacles quivered as she approached. Paula, you are most
Turn
welcome.
right.
It sighed hoarsely. Thank you. Tiger Pansy was sitting on a crate beside Quattles, wearing the contents of 2 travel packs over her skirt and blouse. For once, she'd abandoned her heels to use a pair of boots, then pulled some fur-lined travel slippers on top of them. She still looked miserably cold, her gloved hands cupped around a mug of tomato soup. Adam and Bradley had also pulled up some crates. Their expressions remained neutral as she sat on the corner of the crate that Tiger Pansy was using. For whatever reason, Bradley had never gone in for reprofiling or genetic modification. He was still maintaining his mid-30s age, though she'd never been able to track down which rejuvenation clinic he used. A tall man, especially compared to her, with his fair hair shading almost a silver blonde, contrasting with the darkest eyes she'd ever seen. His handsome features rose with a welcoming smile, not in the least triumphant, merely polite.
Keep left.
Bradley was genuinely pleased to have her with them, though she would not forget nor forgive the terms that had brought her on board. Adam couldn't be more different from the founder of the Guardians. Much squatter than Bradley's athletically lanky frame, with muscle bulk that had been added since their last confirmed image of him on the lanes. Most of the Paris office would have walked right past him without a flicker of recognition. But after so long, Paula could identify his face anywhere, no matter what reprofiling he gave himself. Indeed, After so many changes, there was now a severe limit on any new alterations. This new rounded face that alluded to youthful middle age was a strong warning against so much economic, self-applied cellular reprofiling. His cheeks and chin were leathery, and afflicted with what appeared to be a mild form of eczema. The collar of his semi-organic coat was plagued by strands of dark hair that was dropping out like a radiation victim's. "Shaving must be painful," she said. Adam's hand went halfway to his face before he became conscious of it. "There are suitable creams. Thank you for your concern. You don't look too hot yourself right now. Travel sick? Investigator? Just tired. Please," Bradley pleaded. "I've been assessing our food supplies should we be stuck here," Paula said. "We should be all right for some time.
Get ready
But I came to
turn
ask
right.
what Kotick eats." All 5 of the Rael's eye stalks swirled around in unison to focus on her. "Your
Turn
concern
right.
is touching, Paula. There is no need for alarm. I will be able to digest human food. I estimate I will consume as much as 5 human adults per day, with the exception of curry. It does not agree with my digestive process." "Hey, me neither," Tiger Pansy chirped in. "Are you all right?" Paula asked her. "I can spell you if you want to sleep." "That's real kind. I'm okay, though. I grabbed a few hours in here a while back." "Do you and Mr. Elvin intend to argue with each other?" Quatux asked. "You have been adversaries for many years now. I would find such contrary and emotional discourse to be most elating." "I'm not looking for a fight," Paula said stiffly. "This is a new situation for both of us." Adam looked up at the Rael. "The enemy of my enemy is my
Get
friend,"
ready to turn left.
old humans say. "Do you really set aside old battles so easily? Put it into context with the threat of humanity's extermination, and you'll understand," Paula said. "It's kind of sweet," Tiger Pansy said.
Turn left.
"That we can all just get along, you know." "Thank you, my dear," Quattuck said. "That was a most impressive feeling of sympathy and, I believe, camaraderie." "That's why I get the
You
big
have
bucks,"
arrived at your
she
destination.
said, giggling.
Your route guidance
Not-
is now finished.
Paula turned to Bradley. "The good news is that if the Starflyer does close the wormhole behind it, we will be able to survive. You might, my dear. But for me, such failure will be worse than death. I understand. I'd like to know now, what exactly are your plans? I might be able to help." "Plans," Bradley murmured sadly. "I had grand plans, investigator. Once. Today, things have become somewhat fluid. All we can do is hope that
Hey, what's up guys, Arva here, and welcome back to the episode. my F1 Road to Glory series in 2020, and this is it, the final episode of season number 3, and potentially the episode we finally do it after 3 long seasons, really long, excruciating seasons. We could finally win a Drivers' World Championship driving a Williams Formula 1 car. Last time out at Brazil, well, let's just say it was a rather interesting one to set up the finale. We don't need to worry too much, though, with Gasly having issues, though. But, oh, what? Perez! Sergio Perez, what has gone on there? Perez, oh, Perez! Yeah, Sergio Perez will not be getting a Christmas card from me this year, let's just say that. I still, to this, I'm just absolutely baffled still. What on earth he was trying to do in that brake zone? Like I said, I'm convinced that Gasly's paid him, but we'll never find that out, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to move on and get over it, as we have done many times before with things that have occurred in this series, because we've got a job to do. It's the final episode. It's the final chance to get this done. We are level on points with Pierre Gasly going into this one. Literally, you could not write this star unless it's Sergio Perez.
So make your mind up time.
If gaming is your passion, play Coral Casino.
He probably wrote it down in his pre-race journal because he wanted to make sure he took me out properly. But anyway, you couldn't write this stuff. So we come into this one then, finally with that upgrade that did fail on the car. So we get one little upgrade in present for this one. And it means that we're going to end off this series as the best car on paper. You know, on track, maybe a different story. The Ferraris look pretty quick. But on paper, technically, we are the best team. So I think that's a real testament to how far we've come as a team, as a unit from that first episode many years ago now. Well, 2 years to be exact, from season 1 of the F1 Road to Glory series, when we brought back this series. Obviously, this entire thing being a reboot, of course, of the series I made many years ago with the Marussia Formula 1 team. But yeah, I think we've done ourselves proud. It's now time to just go out and do the business. So for one last time, let's head on to qualifying. Thankfully, at Abu Dhabi, no chance of any rain. We should just come here for all 21 rounds, while we're going to other circuits where it rains everywhere, apparently. Starting off flying lap, then feeling good about it. The car should go well around here somewhat. I feel like Sector 3 we may lose a bit of time, but Sector 1 you're about to see, it's not going to be too bad. Ignore the top left. We're down to P11 briefly, but as we swing through down the crest, up into P2, and finding ourselves in a decent position. But here we are then, Sector 3, and already as we go towards the hotel section under the bridge, losing some time to Sebastian Vettel, the understeer kicking in, the rear end stepping out somewhat, but we're still actually in P2, so we've held it through. Maybe I lied, actually. It felt pretty horrendous in the car, but actually physically we're still there. P3, a lot of understeer on the last corner, losing some time on the exit, but across the line for P4 to end it off.
We're very happy with that position. Well done.
And Jeff's very happy about that position. That can only mean, hopefully, we are close, or if not beating Gasly, and there we are. Absolutely amazing, actually. Very poetic, then. In the last outing, myself and Gasly level pegging P4 and P5 there. Only a matter of a few hundredths, or thousands, really, in it between myself and him. We'll be on the second row. He'll be on the third. Mathematically, you guys did point out, technically, Max Verstappen, the man on the same row as me, can still win the Drivers' Championship if myself and Gasly were to both have a horrendous incident. But you know, there's no way we're going to do that, because we've never come to war. I've never come to wars with my teammate ever in the Road to Glory series. Never. But Robert, he's locked up. Oh, no, what? No, we're out of the Grand Prix. We've just been taken out by our own teammates. It's out again, and Gasly's made contact with us and overtaken us again. So with that evidence laid out before us and the confidence building, let's head on then towards greatness, towards potentially a Drivers' World Championship in Williams.
There's still a chance we can win this championship, so go out there and bring back the title.
You know what? That is the first time Jeff has actually filled me with some confidence and sounds like he's actually backing me in this. I was really waiting, honestly, for him to say Gasly could win the title, step out the way, because I wouldn't put it past him to say that. But no, it looks like he's fighting in my corner for once. Strategy-wise, will be a very simple one stop. The 2 is possible, but I doubt it, really, especially with the traffic around here. here, it's going to be all about that first stint, I feel, and then trying to measure when that pit stop is, because we can come in early, try and undercut, but we could also fall into the trap of falling into traffic if we pit in too early, so that'll be crucial. But the fact that Gassie's right there makes it even more crucial, because we're going to have to try and maybe cover him off, maybe, and we might need to make sure he doesn't overtake us, because that could be a possibility. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, he's pretty quick. He has been very quick this entire season, so we can't rest our laurels. But this is it then, as we go towards the final 5 red lights of this season and series for the F1 Road to Glory here in Abu Dhabi. 5 lights are out and we're underway. It's a bit of a slow start there compared to Verstappen. We're going to tuck in behind. Gasly trying a move on the outside. We're pinched out by Verstappen, and Gasly has overtaken us. Albon round the outside. Virtual safety car has been called out yet again in under a minute, and just after going past the first turns here in this Grand Prix. One person's out this time, though, not a massive calamity like was the case at Brazil, but we've already been overtaken by 2 cars there, so really that's a calamity in our books in terms of the championship fight. The 2 Ferraris lead, then Verstappen, Gasly up into P4, got pinched out by Verstappen, our other technically championship rival here, but obviously I'm only focusing on Pierre as we now go on for a bit of a shaky restart there. Illegally overtook Albon, a little bit too eager off that green flag, but we're going to try and overtake him now properly on the inside there. We're going to have to try and Nico Rosberg him if we can, i.e. pinching him here, then going a little bit early on the brakes, swinging through the switchback